How's it going, guys? My name is Marty. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I wanted to talk about another cool guitar in my guitar collection, and this is it. So this is a Washburn Dan Donegan signature model. So Dan Donegan is the guitar player from the band Disturbed. So this is an older signature model that he had when he was with Washburn Guitars. Throughout his career he's played a few different guitars. I think in the very early days he used PRS. Then he moved to Washburn, which is this, and he's been with Schecter ever since. He's been with Schecter the longest. So he had a very short stint with PRS and Washburn. Nowadays he is with a brand called Schecter, and he's been with them a long time. So these are quite old now, but this is the DD81. So it's a USA Custom Shop guitar. So these were built in the USA from Washburn's Custom Shop, which is pretty cool. 100% go under the radar. So Washburn still make guitars today. I don't think they have as big a roster as they used to. I think their biggest artist nowadays is probably Nuno Betancourt, which is a big name, to be fair. They obviously don't produce this guitar anymore, unfortunately. Yeah, so this guitar is a 2006 model as far as I can remember, and it was made in the USA Custom Shop. And the Dan Donegan series has quite a range of guitars in it. So they have a range that goes from the budget import series, which are made in China, I think, right up until USA. And then there's models above this, believe it or not, like really select models with like crazy inlays up and down the fretboard and things like this. So this is the DD81. The model name is Amaya, and that is named after Dan's daughter, who was born around the same time. But yeah, it's a really cool shape. To me, it's kind of like a Gibson SG mixed with a Gibson RD. You know, this sort of asymmetrical shape. Really interesting. You know, it's quite hard to make an interesting new shape, and I actually think they did a very good job of this. And I think it actually really suits the Washburn headstock that you generally see on these guitars. There's quite a few different USA models for the Dan Donegan guitars. For the most part, they're the same shape, but the number on the end of them is the distinguishing factor. So this is the DD81. And the 81 is usually the models that have the nicer tops on them. So this sort of transparent finish with the flame maple like you see here. But they vary. Like I've seen ones which are like a quilted maple, various colors and things like that. Let's get into the specs, I suppose. So starting at the headstock end, you'll actually see the headstock itself has a really nice sort of matched flame maple veneer, I'm guessing, to match the body. So it's really cool, really high end looking. And the tuners that are on this are the Spurzell locking tuner. So this is the first guitar I've ever had with those sort of tuners on them. And so far they seem very good. They're very heavy duty. I know James Hetfield really likes these tuners, so I imagine they're very good if he's using them. That seems to be an aspect on all the Dan Donegan guitars, by the way. There's also on the back of the headstock this printed graphic, the Buzz Fighting tuning system. So I've only came across this on Washburn guitars a lot of the time on the Dan Donegan models, and I can't find anything on the internet. I think it relates to the nut and how it's cut. Not too sure, but it seems to be like an intonation type thing. They're bragging about how well the guitar intonates or something like that there, but I've only ever seen it on Washburn guitars. But if anybody knows what that means, please let me know, because I'd be really interested. I'm not too sure what the nut is, but I'm gonna guess that it's something high end, like a Graph Tech or, you know, something like that there. The fretboard is rosewood, and it has these nice abalone dots on the fretboard, and then just probably the same again on the side. This is obviously a time where stainless steel frets and lumen lay side dots weren't necessarily a thing, so there's none of that here. Down to the body, you can see the really nice flamed maple, the sort of book matched sides. I love this one in particular because it's so heavily figured. The pickups in this are the Seymour Duncan 59, the El Diablo in the bridge, which is actually Scott Ian from Anthrax's signature pickup. So it's interesting. It's a signature guitar for Dan Donegan, but he really likes another guitar player's signature pickup. So, but I also think the look of this pickup's really cool because it has the two chunky rails across it. As far as controls, it's a simple volume and tone and then a three-way in the same configuration that you'd expect. So position 1 just bridge, in the middle neck and bridge, and then Position 3 is all neck. The bridge is a Tone Pros locking string through bridge, so very reliable, very easy to use. You know, there's not a whole lot goes wrong with these sort of bridges. They're very reliable. I'll flip it over and you can see this really cool cutaway in the back. So this is quite an interesting thing for this model. I've never seen that sort of style to a back of a guitar before. But yeah, really cool. So obviously you can see the dark blue is sort of prevalent across the whole guitar, but it's more transparent in the front to really let that flame maple shine through. As far as the woods go, the neck is mahogany, the fretboard is rosewood, just checking my notes here, and then the body is mahogany with a flamed maple top. So it's kind of the bread and butter of a Les Paul, really, and that's actually what I would say it sort of feels like to play. So I couldn't really find anything on what the neck profile is, but it's, you know, it feels like a Les Paul, which would make sense given Dan came from PRS before and he was definitely using, I think, an early PRS Tremonti or like an SC50, which is like their single cut model. So that makes a lot of sense. So that's the specs of the guitar. So I'll just talk about what it actually feels like to play and sounds. It feels very much like a Les Paul, but it feels like a high-end guitar. So obviously these were built in the Washburn Custom Shop, so it wasn't as simple as just being a USA model. These get slept on. Like, a lot of people don't realize high good quality these guitars were. So I had found old listings of these selling for around £400 in the UK, which is crazy. I think like the retail price of them was about £2,000 when they first came out. It's kind of now in between that on the used market, but you're extremely lucky if you can find these. Like, I'd been looking for a long time before I found one, and I would love to get more. So yeah, they stopped making these in like 2008, maybe 2009, and that was when Dan was moving the Schecter, and that was maybe a better deal for him. But at the same time, I way prefer this. I really wish he was still playing these guitars, because I think they're way more unique. And the Schecter, it's the Schecter that he's using is just his own version of an already existing shape, whereas this was completely new, which was really cool. And I love that sort of asymmetric look. But I would sort of describe the playing experience as very comfortable. It still feels traditional while the shape is a little more contemporary. And I think that was kind of his idea. He kind of liked the idea of anybody being able to pick up his guitar and play it. So it to me, it does look like a metal guitar though, but it doesn't have his name printed all over it, which is kind of cool. The pickups are quite articulate, very tight. I find this El Diablo bridge quite high output and quite difficult to tame at times, so you definitely need to back off the gain and the amp a wee bit. That's the DD81, so I'm going to keep an eye out for any future ones of this shape because I love these guitars. I think they're phenomenal. There is a model above this, I think it's the 191, and it has this crazy flame inlay up the fretboard, but they seem extremely rare. I don't know how many there are, maybe less than 5, but it was like a £5,000-6,000 guitar at the time. So just an interesting thing. I think it's because it's a more asymmetric shape, but the strap button is on the back of that horn rather than, you know, the very tip. Any modifications I would consider doing to the guitar, I think I would just put strap locks on it, to be honest with you. This particular one that I have unfortunately has a fault with the humbucker, which I've had my friend Phil, who is a guitar tech, look at it, and it looks like the wires are frayed in the inside of it, so there's a bit of hum coming off this when there shouldn't be. So I'll probably swap this out for another one of the same bridge because I really like how it sounds. But you know, other than that, like it's a really cool guitar. I'm glad I was able to find it because these are rare as hell. You know, I do check the internet quite often just to see what else is out there, and you never come across them. And maybe if one pops up, it's battered. So another cool aspect is the hard case these came in. I've never seen a hard case like this before. Mine's buried in the background, so I'll just throw some photos up on screen, but they look like something the military would use. It's rare you see a guitar case that isn't black. Really, really cool. Mine actually came a bit damaged, but that might have been during shipping, but the guitar was fine. So I have done a couple of videos using this, so definitely check them out. Thank you very much for watching. If you're new, please like the video, subscribe, all that sort of stuff. I'm trying to do more and more of these videos. And I also do covers and things like that there, so plenty more to come. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you in the next one.